I'm your host, and today we're actually building a design system with Claude Design together from start to finish. If you're building a brand or you've got one that's a little bit of a mess, or you're just curious how this looks like, this is for you. By the end of this episode, you're going to have your colors, your fonts, your tone of voice, all written down in one place with the rules using them. It's the thing that makes the one person brand look like it has a whole studio backing them up. And the part that people don't really realize yet is that you can build this whole thing with Claude Design in about an hour or less, actually, even if you have never opened a design tool ever in your life. No, you don't need Canva. No, you don't need Figma. You don't need anything else. Just a paid Claude subscription and a little bit of inspiration. So today we're doing all of this together step by step and package it all in one project so you can reuse it forever. I'll give you every single prompt to copy word by word so you don't have to worry about that. Let's get into it. Okay, so if this is the first time that you're using Claude, actually keep in mind that Claude has a couple of functionalities. One, you have your chat. Two, you have your cowork. Three, you have your code, which you also can use in your CLI. And four, you have a tiny little design tab right here at the bottom. When you click on it, a new window will open. And keep in mind that Claude Design is currently in beta. So it's not going to deliver the perfect, sharp end result, but it's pretty gosh darn good because it actually gives you a really good first draft that you can iterate on. And sometimes, if you do have a mood board, if you do have inspiration, then it's just going to produce a draft that's already kind of pretty complex and in a pretty good place very fast. Now, here you have a couple of options. You have your design system, which I already have mine set up, but we're going to do one from scratch today. And you have a couple of templates to choose from, and which you already have them here too. You can create prototypes, slides, documents, wireframes, and animations, funny enough. And they're pretty decent. They're not great, but they're like pretty decent. And then you also have an external piece of code if you want to attach or connect to GitHub as well. Keep in mind that you can also connect it to anything that you have local. If you already have any photography or anything that you want to use, of course, you can have that. And you're going to see here skills. Now, the thing is, skills here, they're not the same thing as skills in Cowork. Cowork has a different way of working with skills. The skills that Claude Design is referring to is more about around the templates. So you can create interactive prototypes, make a page, a doc, a deck, animated video, or just have the front end design done. You're going to see here templates. If you have any templates that you already used, the design systems that you currently have, projects. Cool. Then you're going to have the model, of course, whichever you want to choose, the effort. So let's get started. The first things first, I'm going to create the whole new design system. How would you like to start? Create here, connect to Figma or GitHub. So if you already have any kind of assets, or create one using Claude Code, which you're going to have the best fidelity with React components as well, especially if you have them. I will say create here for now. And this is where you're going to have a whole form basically that you need to fill up. So you're going to have the company name, then if you can connect it to GitHub, if you have any folder that you want to add, any assets, any fonts, and anything else that you might want to provide for Claude. Now, the thing is, let's say we're going to start from scratch. So we have absolutely no design system. We have no clue. That's completely fine because what we can do is we're going to leave Claude Design for a second. And then we're going to go in Cowork, start from scratch, and create a project. So I would say choose a different folder, all the work, new demo. You have to give Claude permission to actually do something. And then you're going to have the instructions. Here, I would normally just give like a very brief one, but if you have a more detailed one, I highly encourage you to do so. And add any files that might help. So I would say we're working on creating a new brand. And by the way, this can be anything. It can be your project, your website, just for the website, the whole app, platform, whatever you want. So in this case, I would say a new brand for our creator platform. I'll create project. I'm just taking this as an example, although we do have one of the projects that's a creator platform. Anyway, more on that later. And here you can actually use skills, or you can type manually, or you can add a bunch of things that it's going to help. But let's say this is going to be from scratch, let's say ground zero. So what I would like to do is give some very clear instructions. Let's create a brand from scratch. I would like for you to create 3 separate assets in 3 different documents. 1, it's going to be the tone of voice. 2, the colors that we're going to be using. 3, and the mood board, inspiration. And 4, I would like to have an overall view of the brand, who is it for, and what's actually doing. So basically, I would like for Claude Cowork first and foremost to come up with all of these based on my instructions. So the next step that I will also include here is to actually tell it, this is going to be a conversational, you need to act as a specialist. So we're going to say something along the lines of, let's break this down question by question. Make sure you act as an international brand designer that understands how to create a cohesive theme, a design system, understands the right tone of voice, understands the personality of the brand, and that will help create the assets that we need in order to send it off to Claude Code and Claude Design. Now we're going to kick it off. As you can see now, Claude is starting to create a task list pretty much in the progress bar, where it's going to try to create different documents. It's going to try to clarify the brand, ask the specific questions for you to give the clarity. And then at the end, it's going to produce all 4 documents and deliver them. So what we're going to do really quick with that, then afterwards, we're going to take it, give it to Claude Design, and we're going to have our very first few mockups. From there, we can adjust and also create our design system. So what does the creator platform actually do at its core? I would say it's something else. It helps creators grow and understand their metrics. Who is the primary person this brand needs to win over? I would say mixed all stages. If this brand walked into a room, what would the personality be? And this is a very interesting thing because you can choose one of the list or you can actually add something else. So in this case, I would say confident and witty yet helpful guide that knows how to analyze the trends and data. Have you saved the palette colors? And this is because it detects the casual leader. And I would say completely fresh. Let's start from scratch. Does this platform have a name yet? For us, no. This is just use a placeholder. How witty should the voice actually be? I would say dry and sharp, but also I like playful and warm. So let's go with the recommended one so far. For a fresh palette, what do we want this to be? Light and vivid, warm and earthy, dark and electric. Well, I would say light and vivid. We want something that's really cool. Which visual pulls you towards the mood board? Data as art, editorial and typographic, creator live photography, abstract and geometric. Ooh, I would like to have a mix between editorial and typographic and abstract and geometric and data as art. I know this is a little bit of a mesh, but let's see what's going to come up with. What format should the 4 documents be in? I would say Markdown just because that's the easiest way that Claude Design and Claude Code will understand it. Which working placeholder name should the brand be? I would say just use creator platform. Okay, so quick note, if you already have your colors, if you already have your tone of voice, if you already have everything that you need for a design system, feel free to skip a little bit ahead at the point where we're actually starting to set up the design system. If not, and you want to start completely from scratch, keep going. We're getting there. I'm really sorry if this is a little bit slower than you expected. We're waiting on Claude here, but I'm also going to try to explain as we go. So Something additional that you can actually do here is use skills. Use skills for whatever other assets that you might want from skills.sh, and you can browse and understand what type of skills you might want to use. For me, realistically speaking, I would like for Claude to start from scratch just because I already have a brand that's pretty grounded and set up in the whole Claude ecosystem. And this is going. Yes, it keeps working. And one thing to keep in mind, if you have any kind of examples, so if you have a website that you really like the layout or the colors, or you admire the way they talk about their product, then, feel free to actually give those as examples and make sure that you mention, do not copy it. Although it's at one point it will tell you that it's an infringement and a copyright and it will not do that, but you just can mention, take inspiration from, I like colors, fonts, whatever that might be, and please give me some alternatives that look similar. As Claude works through its task, you're going to see on the right hand side which ones are done, which one it's currently working on. And if you want to ask a question or recommend a change or anything from your initial prompt, you can actually do so here. And it's going to be directly correlated to that task at the step when Claude is going to work on it. And this might take a little while, just FYI. Might take a few minutes, about 10 to 15, maybe even 20, especially if you want to be very, very, very specific. One thing that I would recommend as well, it's for the color system. If you have any sorts of colors that you absolutely do not want Claude to touch, feel free to say so. Just say stay away from, and you give it the hex if you have of the colors. If not, just like name it like brown, yellow, whatever that might be, and mention the colors that you kind of like, the type of palettes that you pretty much like. I think that's going to be very helpful for it in the future. But for me, what I found that I like to do, and this is like the way I'm doing things, I like for Claude first to have a little bit more freedom. And then from there, I start iterating down and go deeper on specific things that maybe I really don't like or doesn't resonate with the brand at all. So we're at step 5, writing the brand overview document. Almost there. Okay, we're starting to have something. First, mood and mood board inspiration. So we have the working name, and then we have the mood in 5 words: lucid, precise, vivid, editorial, alive. 3 visual pillars: data as art, because that's what we selected, editorial, typographic, abstract, and geometric. 3, the typography direction, and it kind of gives a little bit of guidance on how to use it. And space grotesque, I'm not sure what that is, but we're gonna find out afterwards. Inter and normally like JetBrain Mono, those are like Claude's favorite fonts. I don't know why, but it just uses them everywhere. But by the way, feel free to go on Google Fonts. They're completely free and you can find your own and just give Claude Design those fonts if you have the ones that you like. Then you have the composition principles, whatever iconography that you have, motion, mood, ornament, inspiration. So you're going to get like a whole breakdown, which is pretty great. I'm happy with that. Now, we have 4 documents that have been delivered together with this mood board. We have the brand overview, which it describes what the brand is, the brand idea, who is it for, and a little bit about it. As you can see, the value, the personality, the messaging hierarchy for how to use, where to use it, the brand experience principle, the naming note, and so on. We have the tone of voice, really important because the copy, it's going to have to sound in a specific way. And so that needs to match with the visual. And this is the voice in 1 paragraph. And this is the type of things that like you need to look for. So for example, what you would say is your Tuesday videos get 2x the watch time, worth protecting that slot. While what we don't want to sound like is Tuesday's cooking, your midweek magic is casting serious spells on that watch time. No, that we don't want. So those are kind of like the things that you want to check for to make sure that the brand actually sounds like what you have in mind. And then the width dial. This is specifically for our brand, but if you have a different type of personality or trait there, you might want to watch that too. Vocabulary, what we do say, what we don't say, and the voice by surface, sample copy kit. So for example, in an empty state with no data, what is it going to show up? Your weekly digest, subject line, your week, one thing worth knowing, the retention, negative insight cards. All of those are already broken down. Now, the color system, let's see what it came up with. It's a mix between like grays and different whites and beiges. So this is going to be actually an interesting one. The brand primary one, it's kind of like your classic, classic purple, and then with a little bit of a yellow for the signature accent and semantic colors. Then you're going to have the data visualization palette, which is very satisfying to actually see, and anything else, the verified pairing matrix and so on. So you're going to have a pretty good first draft for these colors. Now, if you see any color that you absolutely hate or you don't like, I would recommend saying so. So for example, instead of using iris here, you can just, add a comment and say, replace iris with a different color that is very specific to us and not that popular. I would say avoid brown, purple, red, orange. And it can do a little bit more digging. Then you also have the mood board that we were looking at the beginning. So the reason why we absolutely need all of these documents is because you by yourself, I'm sure you wouldn't write a whole brief like this and hand it off to Claude Design. At least I know I wouldn't. So this just saves me time. Yes, it took us, about 10 minutes, I would say, to create this. And now we're going to adjust a couple of things here and there. But that's 10 minutes with 4 assets. That's going to make a world of a difference when you actually are trying to create your own design system in Claude Design. And look, if you don't want to go through everything that we're going on right now, you can just say, I'm building a brand called, insert name here. It's for, insert your audience there. And I want to help them explain what it does. Then you can just say, act as a thoughtful brand strategist and interview me to uncover this brand's personality, feelings, vibes, tone of voice, values, and anything else. Ask at every single step for us to create the best picture. And that's about it. If you don't want to go through all of this, you can just say that. Now, it kind of replaced the iris with the lagoon. And you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of this color either, but I'm also freaking picky. So I would say I'll just take all of this brief, give it to Claude Design. So let's switch places. We're going to go right now to design. I want to go to this design system. Let's choose prototype because we do want to see the visuals. And then I will ask, using the documents attached, can you create a perfect design system and a homepage variation, 2 or 3 actually. Make sure that the design is actually super fresh. This is for a creator platform whose audience is other creative people. Feel free to adjust colors from the brief if you so see so. And everything needs to match something that will be easy to use, easy to read, have an absolutely amazing style that's unique and people can recognize it the first time they open the page. Now, of course, I'll just drag and drop. You should be able to see them attached here. And I will let Claude Design do its thing. And in a similar fashion as Claude Cowork, Claude Design is doing a little bit of its own to-do list. You're going to be able to see it here on the left-hand side, and it's going to start looking at the variation pages. It's going to verify it at the end to make sure that it looks good. And sure, sometimes it's going to miss the mark, but most of the time it's going to be a pretty decent first draft. And as you can see, we're already starting to see the design system that it pulled from our documents, the typography, the examples, the grid shape and grammar. Normally this type of brief you would get if you actually hire an agency. And it's going to cost a pretty penny. I had a couple of experiences at some of the previous companies that I worked for where they employed agencies to work for over 6 months to create something very similar. Now, I'm not going to say that the colors are going to be perfect and the fonts are going to be great or everything is going to be as top notch as you would normally have with a whole team that's dedicated for this. But look, for the price of a subscription, which can be $20, can be $200, up to you, or more, it's going to deliver a pretty decent result, especially if you're a small business, especially if you want to have this for yourself, or you just want to start something from scratch as a side business or a side project. So, look, I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect. I'm just saying it's going to help a lot, especially if you don't have that agency budget. It's starting to go one by one, which I'm not going to lie, it's not bad. I like that it used a clean layout and a fresh one, like I mentioned. I like that it already knew how to highlight certain words to make it look a little bit more cohesive, not just like a plain bland page. I do like the numbers and the stats, the way they're structured, because they're very easy to read, but in the same time, it's not just a number. You also have a little bit of description underneath. I like the columns, even though for some reason this bothers me that this line is not a line. Completely fine. Those are detailed right now. I like the fact that you have here, you can have an actual quote or a testimonial. And so this was the first version, which is pretty decent. Then the second version, because if you remember, I actually asked it to create 2 to 3 versions in the prompt. I said, create a homepage variation, 2 to 3 actually. So this is the second one. So what Claude Design actually usually likes to do is to give some naming to the version. So first is 1A, which is the cover story, editorial, type leads, and so on. Then you have the second one, which is 1B. The chart is the hero, the data as art. So it picks up on the preferences that we actually named it before. And you have your numbers decoded. Oops, still working. With a little graph here, and then highlighting data. And then the third one, which is the ink edition. So the dark marketing hero for drama. Even though we did say that dark is not our vibe, it gave another version, which I'm not gonna hate on. It's decent, but I don't think this green or whatever that lagoon is matches too well. But I do like this section. This is actually quite nice. And then you have start for free with a very simple footer. Look, 3 versions just in one go. And if you already have your project, just give it either screenshots or the URL and ask for a full rebrand based on, then you give a couple of hints and guidance here and there. It's actually going to create a very, very nice draft. And I think it's pretty much done. That's it. So maybe you don't like this lagoon. Maybe you want a different pop, a different whatever. This is fairly simple. You can just ask it in the chat, or you can actually edit it yourself. Instead of like the white color on the button, maybe you want something else. If you want to completely change the whole font, you can actually tell it. You can find your font yourself and then start telling it to replace it everywhere. So you can actually play with it a lot. Let's say maybe in this case, I really want like a popping orange. I don't know why. It's not like it's any better, but here we go. And you can feel free to just do the edits as you go anywhere you want. Cool. We also have the design system, like we mentioned, and you're going to have all your assets that it created here at the top. So you can switch between the design system and the pages. Now, because I've done a change here, I'm just going to save it. So you have a couple of things here that you can do. If you're happy with whatever output you have, you can just keep asking it, keep going for about us page, contact us page with version 1A or 1B, whichever version you actually liked. If you're not happy with any of them, keep asking and iterating up until you find a version that you like and you're happy with. Once you have that, ask it to update your plot design system. So all the colors that you want to ask, or all the changes, the fonts, whatever, are reflected here, and then continue working. Once it's done and you're happy with it, you can also tell it to prepare the assets to hand off to Claude Code. So it's going to give you everything that Claude Code needs to know for you to actually start building that. The UI part only. So that can be a very easy handoff. If not, let's say we want to first just set up everything in Claude Design as a design system, like we mentioned initially, because this is the whole point of having this video. We want to see how that will look like. And this is going to be fairly simple. What you want to do is use the plot design system to set up the design system. So we can keep reusing it, and I can select between this design system and the other one that we already have set up. So as you can see, it started to update its to-dos. It wants to create the foundation specimen cards, the tokens, so all the color tokens, the styles, the README, the UI kits for the homepage, and everything else that basically it created here.
One eternity later.
And yes, this might take a little while. However, it's again easier than waiting for 6 months or more for an agency to actually come up with this, especially if you're at the beginning, especially if you don't want to blow up a big budget just on brand. This is a really great place to start. Now, the plot design system is fully set up in this project. No copy paste needed. We already have everything that we need. Now, what you can do is go to all project files. From here, you can get a share, copy link, go to your home base, and then in the design system where we had an empty one, so this was the one that we opened and it was completely empty, we can actually give a little bit of a blurb and the URL here. I'll try to say creator platform that supports the growth for different types of creators. Please use all the assets and everything in the project. And it literally took my code. Okay, that's fine. See you back in 5 minutes.
2,000 years later.
If you want to see how to actually add and import your assets one by one to actually have a really nice base with the bare minimum, I actually done that with the Casual Leader brand at a previous episode, which I will link somewhere here and in the description below, of course. And as you can see, the design system has been copied in full and completely cleaned. It found 6 components, fonts, it broke it down into colors, spacing, types, so including the homepage actually. So everything that was already in the previous project, we have it here. Now, if you made enough changes on the other one and you're happy with it with this one, that's perfect. If not, guess what? You can start from scratch, doing the same steps again and again up until you're actually happy with the result. Now, let's say you want to create a couple of assets. So you already have the design system here. Now it's called plot design system, which I'm going to change and I'm going to call it creator platform. And now if you go to your design systems, now let's rename this one because I think it did not pick up the renaming. Creator platform. So now let's say you want to create, let's take one of the templates, right? Let's say we want to create maybe some slides or a prototype or a wireframe. I don't know. I'm just going to pick a prototype again. And this time, instead of the Casual Leader design system, I will choose the brand new shiny one for the creator platform. And what I will ask is create a whole new page that's going to highlight the growth dashboard. Basically, all the metrics in one place with recommendations on the topics that you can actually create yourself based on the market, your niche, the industry, and what people are currently searching for. Give me a couple of variations with different tones. And as you can see here, it's going to be a high definition design within an interactive prototype. Well, it's going to be somewhat interactive. Don't get too excited. And it's going to use the creator platform design system. So now you don't have to repeat yourself about your brand. What do you do? Your tone of voice. Who do you serve? What are you building? Your colors, your spacing, your tokens, none of that, because it's already working on top of that design system that we talked about. So you're always going to have a quick questionnaire that you're going to have to answer, and that's completely fine. I actually prefer it. So let's go through this really quick. What kind of page is this? In product dashboard, well, I would say marketing because we want to, showcase this. Which platform metrics? Well, it's going to be YouTube, TikTok short form, podcast, and other. Then which metrics matter the most? Well, which one do we want? Do we want the revenue? Do we want the scar? I would say decide for me, even though I'm more towards watch time and retention. How rich should the topic recommendations be? I would say decide for me, and let's see what it's going to come up with. Which tones should the variation explore? I want multiple ones. I want the bold, I want the warm, I want the confident, and I also want the dry. I want everything. How many variations? Let's put 3. And then how interactive? Well, here's the thing. I would say light interactions. And if we want anything else, what's the creator niche for the same sample data? I would say keep it tech and AI. And then we're going to continue. And this is when we're actually going to see all the steps that we've done before starting to pay off. Side note, if you ever want to create certain assets for your social media or marketing landing pages or anything like that, you can still use this. In the same way that we asked for a page, you can ask for Instagram slides, LinkedIn carousel, whatever you want to promote your assets. And that will still use the same design system with your tone of voice. You just need to give it a few bullet points of your ideas. So what's going to talk about. And then from there, most likely you're going to have to answer a few questions. But from there, you're actually going to have your assets in no time. You don't need anything else. Just your design system, a prompt, and a couple of bullet points with your ideas. Quick note while Claude is actually thinking. We created a whole document with the prompts that are a little bit more refined than what you've seen here in the video to help you get started. There are a couple of extra documents that you might want to use in terms of templates, so you can think about your brand voice and your personality and what you actually expect. So it's a little bit more narrowed and a little bit more detailed than what we have here. Completely free over on our website, thecasualleader.com. I'll link everything down below. Okay, so it actually created, again, 3 versions because that's what we asked. One that's confident and dry, one that's a warm coach, and the other one, the bold editorial. So let's see, while it's still checking the design for issues, let's go one by one. So this one, this is the confident with dry width. And you can click to see your dashboard, free for 3 channels. I don't know where that came from, but there you go. And then you have your metrics, you have a couple of charts, what to make. So the suggestion for different topics, and you have the stats attached to it, which is absolutely great, the topics, and then your dashboard is ready in about a day, start for free. The other one, the second one, the warm coach, it's a variation of what the homepage was, which you have like a text and a few metrics, the ideas with your name on them. So the topics that are suggested, then you have the testimonial. So the same kind of component that we have on the homepage, which in a way keeps consistency. In the same time, I'm like repeating yourself much. Then we have the bold editorial. And this is where you have, again, a little bit of that dark mode where you still have the hero a little bit more dark. And you have the bold kind of hero with a couple of stats there. And then the dashboard with what to make. The ranking based on searches. So it looks actually at the numbers, which is it's not that bad. I will take, realistically speaking, a couple of components here and there and a couple of ideas and mesh it into one. So if you like, let's say you like the index from this page, but you also like the hero from this page and you like the chart from this page, you can just tell it and it's going to mesh it up in one outcome. And at the end, you can just, once you're happy with it, you can export it, or you can actually tell it to export it for assets for Claude. So for example, I would say take 1A and prepare all the assets that we can give to Claude Code so it can start working on it and actually code the page. And you're going to see it's going to package it really nicely, which you can just give Claude to start working off. Now, again, like I mentioned from here, you can create assets, you can create your pitch decks, you can create documents, and you can create a whole lot more with just this design system. You've seen it how quick it is. I mean, it's somewhat quick. Yes, it's a little bit of waiting around, so you can, grab a tea, a coffee, a drink, whatever you might want. Pet your dog, I don't know. And then you can actually have that for everything else. And the good part is you can have as many design systems as you want, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you can start using this now, today. So for example, if let's say this is a completely new brand for me, I can start asking Claude Design and even Claude Cowork, because now I have the design, to start creating the assets that I need for my socials, to help me with the tagline, to help create icons or slides or whatever you might need to start today. And I think this is a pretty big win, right? This is the whole point of Claude Design and having this design system, because you can use it both with your Claude Code, and you can use it also with your Claude Cowork, and you can also use it for still with Claude Design to create different things that you need. So honestly, for the price of a subscription, this is pretty decent. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. Is it better than what I would be able to come up with? 1,000 times. And I'm not even exaggerating. Look, my background is engineering, not design. I can tell if something is nice and looks good and the user experience is nice. But creating this from scratch by myself, this homepage, absolutely not. I would have not chose the lime green that goes under one honest page, which actually looks quite good. Yes, maybe I would have chosen a different color for the CTAs, but realistically speaking, I would have not arranged this chart underneath with all channels, YouTube, TikTok, podcast, anytime soon like that. It's just not my specialty. And I'm sure a lot of you are in the same position as I am. So, look, if you're a social media marketer, I think this is going to help you, not just designing pages, but even campaigns. And by the way, as a side note, here, if you want, you can actually share it with more formats and apps, and you can actually connect it to Livable should you want to, or Base 44, or Replit, or even Vercel or Wix. And you can connect it and start creating that landing page there for a marketing campaign too. All of this in a few minutes and the price of a subscription again. And is it going to replace agencies and studios? Maybe, at least the ones. The quality ones, they will never die because they are going to be the number one in their niche and in their industry. It's like anything else. If you're absolutely amazing at what you do, no one's going to replace you. Food for thought. But let me know if this was helpful for you. I'm very curious. If you set it up, please let me know in the comments or DM me. I'm always reading all the messages and I'm very excited to see what you're going to do with it. If you have any questions, put them down below. Again, happy to answer them. This was just an overview, a very easy setup, but again, you can do so much more with it. Let me know if you're interested in like a more advanced video about this as well. And while I was talking here, Claude decided to finish the handoff Claude Design for Claude Code. And now you can actually download the handoff. And the handoff packaged the readme.md, the design reference for the dashboard and the HTML that comes with it, the JSON for it, the tokens, the components, and the brand. So you already have all of this without having to copy, paste, move anything so far. So if you're just going to download this, which is a zip file, and this is the whole handoff, you can 100% just decompose that, turn them into tokens, turn them to whatever you are using for your project. And that's about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out any of the upcoming episodes. We have tons of interesting subjects. Plus, join our community on our website, thecasualleader.com, for the latest AI and tech updates, for OKRs, accountability, check-ins, and workshops, and more. Until next time, keep being you authentically, lead clearly, build smarter, and remember, everything starts with you. Start casual, keep going, keep growing. See you next week. Bye.